Hola mi amigos, this is Christmas Eve. I'm sorry, this is a New Year's Eve, and I'm stuck here making a video for you guys. How fucking sad is that? It's the year in review. Yeah, I mean, it's Christmas Eve for me right now. It's New Year's Eve for me right now. But tomorrow is New Year's Day, obviously, because the 1st of January comes after the 31st of December. So this is gonna be uploaded, like when you're seeing this video, it's gonna be New Year's, so Happy New Year. So for this video, I decided to do like a year in review kind of thing. You know, we're gonna talk about things that made me happy in 2017, things that made me sad, things that made me, you know, like just go, ah. And since this channel is about movies, we're gonna be talking about the best movies of the year and the worst movies of the year, and also some other things, you know, things that, you know, are relatable to people who live here. To start things off, wasn't this a great year for women empowerment in Nagaland? Sarcasm! No, we're not gonna start off with that. We'll deal with that later in the video. The bad things first. Want me to talk about politics? Nah, I do that enough in my day job, so yeah. We had like 2 bridges collapse in my hometown, Dimapur, and that was fucking crap. You had a fucking cockfight of epic proportions. That was fun, especially if you work for a newspaper and then you have to deal with their, you know, press releases every fucking day. You know when I realized how messed up shit was? This was when Game of Thrones was running, and I saw like 2 press releases from these opposing camps, and then I had to like bring those 2 releases together and make a story out of it. And it was so reminiscent of the conversation between, if you had a conversation between Houses Tyrell and Houses Lannister, then that was what was basically happening in those 2 press releases. That's when I realized how shit things really were, when, you know, a fictional, you know, universe, a fictional depiction of, you know, the worst periods of medieval history resembles your current state of politics in the place that you live. I spoke about the women empowerment thing in the beginning of the video, and the whole, you know, clusterfuck that surrounded the whole issue towards the beginning of the year. So yeah, that was fun. Arsene Wenger is still the manager of Arsenal Football Club, despite all my campaigns. I love you, Arsene, but please just go. Please go. These are things that are just, you know, on the top of my head. I'm sure I have a lot more things to complain about, and perhaps I can talk about them in a separate video sometime. So things that I liked about 2017 though. Cash on delivery from Amazon became quicker. We got our first sponsors. That was fucking brilliant. Best thing about this year was the people I got to know. And this was mostly because of the YouTube channel, you know. I became like friends or acquaintances with a lot of you guys who are watching, who are subscribers, and that's been freaking awesome. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. This is a list of 10 movies which I think were the best that came out this year. At number 10 is Split, which is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, which stars James McAvoy. And if you know M. Night Shyamalan, or if you have followed his career over the years, when he first came out, you know, people thought he was this visionary director who was going to take filmmaking to the next level. I mean, he did make very good movies in the beginning. The first, you know, 2 or 3 of his movies were absolutely groundbreaking, but then he came out with movies like Lady in the Water and The Last Airbender, and you went, oh fuck, this is like complete bullshit. So I was really pessimistic when Split came out, and I thought it was just gonna be another M. Night Shyamalan crap fest. But boy was I wrong. This was a brilliant movie. James McAvoy is just so fucking brilliant in this movie. It's about split personalities in the protagonist's character in this movie, and James McAvoy plays the protagonist in the most wonderful ways, and I'm going to be really disappointed if he isn't at least nominated for an Oscar in this movie, for his performance in this movie. At number 9 is the Lego Batman movie. Now, the Lego movies have always been really fun and really entertaining for me. But then the Lego Batman movie, especially the way it embraced and it caricatured the whole Batman mythos, was done in such a wonderful way. It was, the absurdity of the Batman universe was depicted in the most beautiful ways. And I think, you know, the Lego Batman movie is the best Lego movie, and this is coming from a person who actually loves all the Lego movies. So the Lego Batman movie is at number 9 when it comes to the best movies of 2017. At number 8 is The Shape of Water, directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's a rare instance that you get to experience a Guillermo del Toro movie, and I caught the Blu-ray of this movie, and boy, I was impressed. I mean, Guillermo del Toro never fails to impress, and this was shot in the most wonderfully cinematic ways that you can ever imagine about a movie being shot. So if you haven't watched this movie kind of went under the radar, but I was so lucky to, you know, have watched it. Because the reason for it being because it was a Guillermo del Toro movie, and I love that guy. So I'm not gonna spoil anything about this movie, but then go watch it. You should definitely go watch it. It is just magnificent. At number 7, I'm gonna put Wind River, which is directed by Terry Sheridan, which stars Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, the duo from the Avengers, Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch. This is one of the movies of the year that has these unique steps to its pacing. You know, the way it, you know, develops in the end slowly, and then midway you have this lull, and then at the end you have this frantic pace. And it's not just about, you know, the editing, it's about the storytelling that dictates the pacing, and it was just so wonderfully directed. And plus, Jeremy Renner proving once again in this movie that he is one of the most underrated actors of our generation. I love that guy, and his performance in Wind River was just breathtaking. So go and watch it, definitely. At number 6, I'm gonna put Baby Driver. Now, when I found out that Edgar Wright was going to be directing Baby Driver, I was sold already. And this movie was Edgar Wright at his best. His usage of music and the way he, you know, pushed that film forward with using the music as the foundation to it was just so phenomenal. And at number 5, we're going to put in a movie from the DC Extended Universe. And yeah, you guessed it right, it's Wonder Woman. How great was Wonder Woman, you know? Of course there were problems with the plot, you know, you could complain a lot about the ending, the villain, the CGI towards the final battle, but leave all that aside, man. It was Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot, how magnificent was she? Socially, culturally, politically, this was an important movie. And it meant a lot to me, because I grew up reading Wonder Woman comic books, and to see this strong female character that I've always admired and loved ever since I was a kid, you know, be brought to the big screen and, you know, done justice to. This was amazing. So Patty Jenkins, hats off, one of the best movies of the year. So it takes the spot of number 5. And at number 4, I'm gonna put in a movie which I believe is going to get a lot of recognition from the Academy as well, and rightly so. I'm talking about, at number 4, is The Disaster Artist. This was produced and directed by James Franco, and it chronicles the making of a cult film from 2003 called The Room. Now, if you haven't watched The Room, then you should definitely go and watch it, because it's a 2003 movie, you know, it's produced, directed, written, and everything by a guy called Tommy Wiseau. I think that's how you pronounce it. I first watched it like about 5 years back, I think, and it's widely considered to be one of the worst movies ever made. But then you keep on watching it again and again, and you develop an affinity towards that movie. Now, I'm talking about the original, The Room, you know, it's so bad that it's good. Do you get me? It developed a cult following, and to be honest, I was a member of that cult, you know. I really appreciated The Room. It was like, you know, one of my worst guilty pleasures. So The Disaster Artist is a movie that is directed by James Franco, is acted on by James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, and James Franco does a brilliant job in depicting that character, and it chronicles the making of that cult movie, and it does it in a very humorous way, in a very real way as well, and you can actually, you know, feel the connection with the characters, the real life characters that were involved in this very real event about making a movie. Now we're getting to the top 3. At number 3, and this was really hard for me to put at number 3 because, you know, I wanted to put it at number 1. I'm going to be talking about Logan. Logan was, it's sad, isn't it? Logan was the perfect way to say goodbye to the character of Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman, which we all love and which we can all agree was the best thing to come out of the X-Men franchise, Fox's X-Men franchise. This was a superhero movie, one of the few superhero movies that actually worked as a movie per se. It had something to say. I think Logan is up there, you know, to be like one of the best superhero movies ever made, and I am counting Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight series as well. At number 2 is Blade Runner 2049. If you've watched my review of that movie, then you would know that I absolutely loved it, and I called it the epitome of what good science fiction should be. I am one of those fans that, you know, dedicated myself to learning a lot about the Blade Runner universe, and the first Blade Runner starring Harrison Ford was a favorite of mine when it came to science fiction movies from the 80s. And this one as well, you know, it surpassed expectations. This was one of the best movies that I've ever seen, ever, period. And this was the movie that made me love Denis Villeneuve even more. Now this is a guy who directed the likes of, you know, Sicario, which I absolutely loved. And you can see those influences, you know, you can see the same kind of cinematography and storytelling and pacing in Blade Runner 2049. It is just so wonderfully done, and Harrison Ford is fantastic in it. So is Ryan Gosling. He plays a brilliant character in the most brilliant of ways, and Blade Runner 2049 is number 2 in my list of the best movies of 2017. And at number 1, are you ready? It is a masterpiece by Christopher Nolan himself. Yes, I am talking about Dunkirk. Now, when I went to watch Dunkirk, it was more than a movie for me. It was an experience that I can't describe. It really was. And this was, you know, just Christopher Nolan showing off, and it was magnificent. This movie made me go through so many different emotions. You know, it made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me have goosebumps, it made me scared for my life. You know, it was just such a wonderful experience. We can talk all about, you know, the technical aspects of the technical filmmaking aspects that Christopher Nolan employed in this movie, and how good characters like Tom Hardy, like actors like Tom Hardy were in this movie. But it all comes down to one thing in this movie. It was about survival. It was about the strength of the human spirit. And this was a brilliant depiction, a celebration, in fact, of the human spirit, of how humanity, human beings, are able to, you know, go through everything, the most horrendous of things, and still come out strong. And it's not about victory, not about victory at all. It's about survival. It's about doing the best that you can in the situation that you are, making the most out of things, you know? This was a Second World War movie told in a way never done before. Every single thing about Dunkirk worked for me. And like I said before, the fact that this was a celebration of the human spirit in the most beautiful ways, and the way it came out, that celebration, you know, the way it was depicted in the movie, and the way, you know, you could absorb it as an audience member, pushed Dunkirk to the #1 spot. So there you go. That was my list of, you know, the best movies of 2017. Dunkirk takes the top spot. Now let's talk about the bad movies of the year. I'm not going to be spending so much time on the bad movies of the year because I don't want to shit on movies, because I understand that they put in a lot of effort, and, you know, views and opinions are subjective. So yeah, let's just go through the list of, you know, the worst movies of 2017 according to me personally. At number 10 is 50 Shades Darker. Yep. I'm not a fan of the 50 Shades franchise at all. And I think this was, you know, just another example of, you know, really bad storytelling portrayed in a really bad movie. And there's really nothing. I mean, you get a few, you know, nude scenes, which are the best parts of the movie. So yeah, that's about it. This is a shit movie. At number 9, I'm gonna put The Mummy. It was so disappointing. You know, this was gonna be the start of the Universal monster movie franchise, the reboot kind of thing. But then Tom Cruise, I love Tom Cruise, man. I wanted him to work well in this movie, but then it just didn't. I had really high expectations because it was Tom Cruise in The Mummy, you know. Everything looks really great on paper, but it just didn't work, you know. There were so many things going wrong, and Tom Cruise running couldn't help either. So yeah, at number 9, worst movies of the year, The Mummy. At number 8 is Baywatch for me. And this one's really hard as well because, you know, I love The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and to put any of The Rock's movies in, you know, the worst movie list is very hard for me. But this was a movie that didn't work on all levels. It was a crappy joke after another crappy joke after another crappy joke, and you know, attempts at callbacks which really didn't work, and it was so cringy. So yeah, Baywatch. It was really bad. At number 7, I'm gonna put The Space Between Us. I really hate that movie, to the point that I actually wish that the characters in the movie, all of the characters in the movie, would die in real life. This was a movie that tried to have a deeper meaning, you know, that tried to do something different, but it failed in so many ways, man. Ugh! I hate this movie. Don't watch this movie, man. It's really, really bad. At number 6, I'm gonna put The Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it's time for this whole franchise to end. I've always thought that The Pirates of the Caribbean peaked after 2 movies, but then they kept on doing it over and over and over again, and you know, Johnny Depp needs to realize that the whole Jack Sparrow, you know, thing it's getting tiring, and there's nothing new that he can do with this character. So yeah, man, Pirates of the Caribbean. At number 5 is Daddy's Home Part 2, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, 2 actors whom I actually really love. This movie has a collection of the worst, cringiest jokes that you can ever hear. You know, usually I'm a fan of cringy jokes, but this just made me really repulsed and disgusted. You know, it has a 10-minute dad thermostat joke in it. At number 4 is gonna be Matt Damon's The Wall. When I first watched it, I kind of liked it actually, because it was Matt Damon, and Matt Damon is someone that I really, really enjoy. Then I watched it a second time, and then I watched it a third time, and I realized how crap this was, and I really began to hate this movie. The CGI was so bad. The story was so bad. Even the acting, Matt Damon wasn't a good actor in this movie. How is that even possible? Pedro Pascal was in this movie, and I didn't like Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal is the most likable person in this planet. Oh, now we're getting to the top 3. This was hard. And number 3 is a complete shit show. It's about a franchise that I really hate. And it's about a director that, you know, is like my guilty pleasure, but when it comes to this franchise, I really fucking hate his guts. Transformers: The Last Knight. Michael Bay never does learn. He does the same thing over and over and over again. But you know what? This time I was so happy that Transformers: The Last Knight didn't do as good as you would expect a Transformer film to do in the box office. Even in the international market, forget the domestic US market, even internationally it didn't do very well. So perhaps, you know, the people who are behind Transformers can realize that whatever they've been making with this, you know, franchise in the big screen has been absolutely crap. At number 2 is a movie which came out early. It's Triple X. You have this huge cast of characters involving persons which, you know, have no business being on the big screen. Triple X isn't even a dumb action movie. It's insulting. It really does insult your intelligence. I was offended by this movie. Seriously, I really was. Triple X is a franchise that needs to be locked up and just, like, you know, thrown into the largest volcano in the world. It's just so bad. So now that we're done with, you know, the second worst movie of the year, let's talk about what I think was the worst movie of the year. Yes, I'm talking about the Emoji Movie. Why in the bloody hell was the Emoji Movie necessary? The Emoji Movie is an example of the human species, you know, just like going back in time in terms of the evolutionary timescale. I love animated movies, and I can even respect badly done, stupid animated movies. I can get movies like Frozen, which I think is really stupid. Frozen was absolutely stupid, but then I can get it, you know, it hit the demographic and it probably had something to say. But the Emoji Movie, it was a combination of the worst of modern humanity. It was the Minions, which I absolutely loathe. The Minions movie on steroids, on overdrive. This was commercialization shoving their logos into the faces of little kids, you know? Just the worst of modern humanity, I'm telling you. If you're a parent watching this video, which is highly doubtful, please do not let your kids watch this movie. This is going to, you know, like, really affect them in the worst possible way. So there you go, that was my list of the best and the worst movies of 2017. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with them. And let us know what your list would be in the comments below. So as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more content, please do leave a like, and perhaps you can consider subscribing to our channel. It's free, it takes only a second, and it helps us out a lot. Until next time, Happy New Year and see ya!